When you guys were cheering more for her, I was a little bit upset. So next time, please.
She had just won. Convincingly. The crowd was loud, the match was over, and the #1 player in the world walked up to the microphone. And instead of thanking the fans, she told them they cheered for the wrong person. Those words came from Aryna Sabalenka. And the moment she said them, something shifted in the entire story of the 2026 Madrid Open.
I love Madrid. It's an amazing tournament.
Let me paint the full picture because the surface of this story is interesting, but what is underneath it is absolutely fascinating. Aryna Sabalenka came into Madrid as the most dominant force in women's tennis this season. World #1. 3 titles already in 2026. A 25-1 record that would make most players retire happy. She walked onto the Manolo Santana Stadium, the biggest court at the Caja Magica, won 6-1, 6-4, and then looked at a packed crowd and essentially said, "Next time, cheer louder for me." Not a joke. Not sarcasm. A genuine complaint from the best player in the world because the crowd dared to support someone else. But here is where this gets complicated, because the someone else she was referring to was not even on the same court. 4 days before that moment, both Sabalenka and Alexandra Eala were inside the same building in Madrid. It was the 2026 Laureus World Sports Awards at the Palacio de Velázquez. Sabalenka won Sportswoman of the Year. She stepped to the podium and admitted, quietly, that she wanted to disappear from the stage. Eala walked the red carpet in a custom Filipiniana gown, beige chiffon. A piña bolero, designed by her uncle Ret Eala. And she told the cameras, "I always had this dream that when I'm on a red carpet, I'll wear what's called a Filipiniana." And the Laureus Sports Awards, it was perfect. 2 players. Same ceremony. Same city. One retreating from the spotlight, one stepping directly into it wearing her nation on her body. That difference did not stay on the red carpet. It walked into every court, every press conference, and every crowd moment that followed across the next 5 days.
I've always had a dream that kind of like when I'm in a red carpet, I'll wear what's called the Filipiniana, and it's a very traditional Filipino formal wear. It's
2 days after the Laureus ceremony, on April 22nd, Alexandra Eala walked onto the Aryna Sanchez Stadium, the second largest court at the Caja Magica, and dismantled former top 15 player Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova 6-3, 6-3. Representatives from the Philippine embassy in Spain were sitting in the stands. Filipino fans with flags and organized chants made themselves impossible to ignore. And when Eala grabbed the microphone for her post-match interview, she did something nobody expected. Mid-sentence, she switched into fluent Spanish and the entire crowd erupted. Her 3 words, "I love Madrid," became the clip of the day. The tournament was officially on notice. The Filipino army had not just arrived. They had taken over the atmosphere of an entire complex. Now here is where things get genuinely interesting, because the Madrid Open's response to that energy was a decision that tells you everything about how tennis institutions still operate. For Eala's second-round match on April 24th against 19th seed Elise Mertens, tournament organizers scheduled her on court 5. Not the Aryna Sanchez. Not the Manolo Santana. Court 5. A minor outer court with a fraction of the capacity she had just filled with electricity 2 days earlier. The Filipino fans who had flown from across Europe and the Philippines, flags packed and chants rehearsed, found themselves physically unable to surround her. The tournament had not given them a court worth filling. Think about what that decision communicates. You walk in, you fill a stadium, you go viral, the Philippine embassy sends a delegation, and they move you to an outer court for your next match. That is not a scheduling oversight. That is a statement about how star power is still being measured inside these institutions. And Eala lost that match 2-6, 1-6. But stay with me, because the loss is almost the least important part of this story.
I love Madrid.
While Eala was being squeezed onto court 5, something was happening on the other side of the complex that nobody could have scripted. Sabalenka was playing her match on the Manolo Santana Stadium, maximum capacity, full house, every seat filled. And she still found the crowd's support insufficient. That is not a coincidence. That is a portrait of 2 completely different relationships with public attention. The energy that could not fit inside court 5 did not disappear. It bled into the general atmosphere of the entire Caja Magica. Eala's fans, redirected from the smaller court, saturated the complex so completely that the #1 player in the world, sitting in her own packed main stadium, felt it from across the building and decided she needed to address it publicly. Read that again. The overflow energy from a Court 5 match reached the main arena and unsettled the world #1 enough that she brought it up on the microphone after her win. That is crowd power operating at a level that rankings and scheduling decisions simply cannot contain. Now consider the broader pattern, because this was not Sabalenka's first public moment of friction with crowd dynamics in 2026. Back in March, after withdrawing from the Dubai Tennis Championships with a hip injury, she erupted publicly at tournament director Sulatalik when he suggested that late withdrawals should face ranking point deductions. Her response left nothing to interpretation. She called his comment ridiculous, questioned whether he showed himself in the best light, and told the press that she was not sure she ever wanted to return to Dubai. The player who threatened to publicly boycott a tournament over a director's tone is now the one circulating globally in headlines about being on the wrong side of a crowd. The symmetry writes itself. And then there was the Bernabeu. Madrid Open organizers installed a temporary clay court inside Real Madrid's Santiago Bernabeu Stadium and organized an exhibition that became one of the most viral moments of the tennis calendar all year. Rafael Nadal participated. His 3-year-old son hit shots on the clay. Florentino Perez sat in the mock umpire's chair. The whole world watched. Sabalenka declined. In her press conference, she explained that she preferred to focus on the tennis. 3 of her peers turned the sport into a global celebration while she stood apart citing preparation. The decision may have been professionally rational, but the optics created a pattern that fans were already reading before the Madrid crowd moment gave it language. So what exactly were the fans saying? Social media responses documented on April 26 were direct. What does she do this every time? You are the #1 in the world and favorite in every match. Let people cheer for the underdog. Another one simply read, you are not the center of the WTA. These were not casual comments from people who follow the sport occasionally. These were fans who had also been watching Eala compete on Court 5 that same day, unable to fill the space the way they had 2 days earlier, still showing up, still chanting. They were reading the room before the room had a name. Here is what makes the Greg Rusedski assessment so significant in this context. Rusedski reached the 1997 US Open final. He spent 12 years inside the top 100 and climbed to a career peak of world #4. He is not a fan. He is a professional assessor of tennis talent. After Eala's loss to Mertens on Court 5, Rusedski did not reach for diplomatic language. Delivered on the Off the Court podcast and reported by Tennis 365 on April 25, his words were measured and deliberate. She is too good a player. She will figure it out. And what I like is her resilience. Be a little patient. It might take a bit longer, but she has a great team around her. A former world #4 does not use the word resilience carelessly. In professional tennis, resilience is the currency that separates careers ending in footnotes from careers that rewrite records. He was not consoling a fan base. He was identifying a quality he recognized, the kind that outlasts bad draws, bad scheduling, bad days, and the specific weight of becoming the face of an entire nation's sporting ambitions on a Court 5 in Madrid. Eala entered this Madrid campaign ranked 44th in the world. Coming off a career-high ranking of 29 achieved in March, the highest any Filipino woman has ever reached in WTA singles history. The fans who came to Madrid were not there because of that number. They were there because of something a ranking cannot measure. The feeling that one of their own is rewriting what is possible. Her uncle Rhett Eala, who designed the Filipiniana gown worn at the Laureus ceremony, put it plainly. People always tell me I am just Alex Eala's uncle now. And I am proud of it. An entire community had reorganized itself around a 21-year-old left-hander from the Philippines. Tournament officials scheduled her on an outer court and assumed the energy would simply not follow. It followed. It followed so completely that it became the dominant conversation of the week even after she lost. Eala did not disappear into the defeat either. She is still competing in Madrid doubles alongside Zeynep Sonmez, facing the #2 seeds. And in the second set of the Mertens match, on a day when everything was stacked against her, she stood at the umpire's chair and did not absorb the time violation warning quietly. She looked directly at the official and said, "First of all, please let me speak. You need to give me a warning first." On a minor court, in a lopsided match, with her Madrid singles campaign ending around her, she demanded to be heard. That is not a statement about toughness. That is a statement about identity. She wore the Filipiniana on the glorious red carpet as a quiet declaration of where she comes from. 4 days later on court 5, the declaration was not quiet. It was an insistence. Now zoom all the way out and look at what this week actually produced. Eala lost her singles match. The story is still about her fans. Sabalenka won her singles match. The story is still about her complaint. That inversion tells you everything you need to know about where real cultural momentum lives right now in women's tennis. The kind of crowd power Eala is carrying, the kind that travels across oceans, coordinates at embassy level, fills whatever court the tournament offers, and then overflows into the atmosphere of the entire complex, that is not something a marketing team manufactures. It is not a prize the tournament awarded her. It was built by a community that decided, long before the WTA rankings agreed, that Alex Eala was worth crossing an ocean for. After Madrid, she moves to the 2026 Catalonia Open as the 6th seed. Then the Italian Open, a WTA 1000 event with a global stage. Then Roland-Garros in Paris, her second career Grand Slam main draw. Each of those venues will face the exact same question that Madrid could not cleanly answer. Where do you put a player whose fan base is already bigger than her seed? Because the Filipino army is not traveling to Rome for a holiday. They are going because she is going. And every court the tour places her on is going to have to reckon with what happens when an entire nation's sporting ambitions arrive dressed in chiffon and ready to chant. The Caja Magica had 1 week to answer that question and scheduled her on court 5. Roland-Garros has a different kind of stage. What happens when Alex Eala walks onto the clay in Paris for her second career Grand Slam main draw and the stands actually fit the army that is coming for her? Drop your prediction in the comments right now because this story is nowhere near finished. If you want to be in the room when it reaches its next chapter, the Italian Open, Roland-Garros, every court this tour still owes her, subscribe now. These are the stories that deserve to be told in full.